Welcome to Satsang. We'll start as always with a question that has come in advance, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here has. How do I avoid doing bad karma? So it's important to realize that when we speak about karma, karma means action. So for example, if you speak about karma yoga, we talk a lot about 3 different ways or 3 different paths that are given to us in the Bhagavad Gita of how to attain ultimate union with the divine, how to attain self-realization, God realization, moksha, liberation, whatever term we use for that. And we're given Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion and love, Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge and wisdom, and Karma Yoga, the path of action. So karma literally means action. That which we get back, the result of our karma, is actually the karmic fruit. And it's important to clarify this because a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm getting good karma, I'm getting bad karma. There isn't actually, on a deep level, any such thing as good or bad karma. What you have are actions that we perform. And those actions have, as the world of physics tells us as well, reactions. What those reactions are, what the repercussions of our actions are, is the fruit of our karma. Now, sometimes that fruit is very sweet, it's very nice, we enjoy it, we think, oh, this is great, so glad this is the result I'm getting. Sometimes that fruit is not nearly so sweet, it's bitter, it's painful. And that's when we think, oh, I must have done something wrong. But it's really important to realize that the universe does not operate like a school teacher or like Santa Claus. You know, when we talk about Santa Claus and he knows if you've been good or bad and he's got this list of good and bad. Karma's not like that. It's not about rewards and punishments. It's not a system of that. It's a scientific system that basically says, as you sow, so you will reap. Plant an apple seed, get an apple tree. Plant a rose bush, get roses. Plant deception, cheating, pain, violence. You will get back pain. Those are the seeds that we are planting. So when you say, how do I do good karma? On the most basic level, it's very easy. do good actions. Good karma means good actions. So do right actions. With International Day of Yoga coming up, we just have to look at the world of yoga for, well, what is good actions mean? Most of us know it. You know, Pujya Swamiji always says, even animals know it. When a dog is hungry and it's right next to one of those like food sellers and they've got the food carts, and the dog takes a piece of bread from the food cart, Pujya Swamiji says, you'll always see this dog will look around. If there's no one around, the dog will eat the bread right there. But if there's someone around, the dog will run and eat the bread, you know, in a doorway, hidden behind something, because even the dog knows I shouldn't be stealing bread off of the cart. So when we say, oh, I don't really know what to do, I don't know what is right here, I don't know what is good, in almost all circumstances, not all, but almost all circumstances, we really do know what we should do. We really do know what is right. We do know what is good. But those questions usually arise when we've got my awareness of what is good is over here, my awareness of what is right over here, and then over here are my desires or my fears or my ego or my patterns, and they pull me in different directions. So I know it is wrong to be violent, let's say. Good to be nice. But say I've got anger issues, anger management problems, a sanskara of violence. And so I hit people or harm them or yell or insult or whatever it may be. I may come up with all kinds of excuses to justify what I do because I'm unable to act according to what I know is right. Or you'll have people say, I don't know what decision to make. I know this is right, but... And then it's always this rationalization or justification based on our egos, our desires, our fears, that we rewrite as though it really were a dilemma of what to do, as though both options really were good. But in almost all cases, if we are really honest with ourselves, like the dog, we know what are the right choices to make, what's the right thing to do. That which has integrity, that which has honesty, that which has compassion, that which has selflessness, that which is good for the greatest number. I mean, we know these things. This is not rocket science. And as I was saying, yoga gives us such a beautiful way of knowing that. Before we get to the third of the 8 limbs given by Patanjali of yoga, before we get to asana, we have yam and niyam, the do's and don'ts. You could sort of look at it as the 10 commandments of a yogic life, a dharmic life, a good life. So when we abide by that, that's good karma, good action. But I'm sure, even without knowing who it is or having them in front of me, that the asker of how do I avoid doing bad karma and do good karma is asking not just how do I do that which I know already is right, but rather how do I avoid getting things that I don't want to get? How do I avoid bitter fruits of my actions? And how do I get sweet fruits of my actions? And this is really where in our spiritual practice, sadhana is so important. Because, again, like the dog, we know what's good, we know what's bad. We know that the law of karma is scientific. Plant apples, you're going to get an apple tree. You don't have to worry that I planted apples, but oh my God, they're going to come out as peaches. You don't have to worry that I'm going to do something that is good and I'm going to get something bitter in exchange. When we see that in life, it's a misunderstanding. I may think that I'm being unfairly treated by the universe, by the law of karma. And I hear this a lot. Karma is not nice to me. It's not fair to me. God isn't fair. But this is all our misunderstanding, because I may think that bitter fruit that I'm getting is actually in direct result of that great action I did. So here, Menebot Achichi's Ki, I did a great service. And in exchange, what I get is failure or criticism or loss or violence or pain. We think, how is this possible? But that's just our narrow vision. Last night, I spent a long time speaking from the stories of the Ramayana about the threads of karma. But it's also, you can even just think about it on even a more simple level of that which I'm getting right now is not the result only of the most recent action I did. The fact that you are all sitting here right now is due not only to the fact that you just walked in that door. It's due to so many different things from so many different times of your life that have brought you to India, to Rishikesh, that have made you the type of person to come to Satsang. And it's certainly possible that, say, on your way in here, maybe somebody walked in front of you and maybe you have anger management issues, and so maybe you insulted them. Then you come into Satsang, you could say, well, look, see, I got good results from a bad action. But no, you being here has nothing to do with happening because you insulted the guy on your way in. In the same way that if walking in here, you helped someone. Maybe there was someone having difficulty walking up in the rain, an elderly person. Maybe someone didn't have an umbrella, you gave them yours. And then when you walk out of Satsang, maybe you slip and fall. See, look at this. I did something good and I got something bad. Excuse me. Got something bad. But that's this very, very narrow vision that says what I just got is due to what I just did. But it isn't. You slipping on your way out is not in response to you coming to Satsang. It's not in response to you helping the person on the way in. It's in response to an entire tapestry of threads that are woven together. Threads of your life, threads of other people's life, threads. And as I was saying last night when we talked about it, who knows that slip that was written in your destiny as accident was supposed to be a car accident instead in which you died. But because of the sadhana you've done, because of the grace, instead of being hit by a car, you slip in a puddle. So when we understand karma, especially when we think about it as the good and the bad, the bottom line is expand your vision. Expand your vision. Remember the story of Shravan Kumar that we spoke about last night. Remember how these threads weave in together. And so if you want to avoid bitter fruit in your life, that bad karmic fruit, well, we know one way to avoid it, which is don't plant seeds today of bitterness. Don't plant seeds of jealousy, of competition, of violence, of stealing, of harm. But what we also know is that that which you're getting today and in the future is not due only to what you plant now. It's also due to so much from the past over which you don't have any control right now. It's already been done. And then the question becomes, well, so then what to do about that? Are we just victims? No. This is where grace comes in. This is where sadhana comes in. This is where that power of the Guru, the power of grace, the power of your sadhana, the power of your prayers, the power of your seva, the power of this whole package that we're going to call a spiritual practice, a spiritual life, comes in. And it's not going to wipe it away. It's not going to rewind your life. It's not going to turn an apple seed into an orange tree. But it's going to take that accident you were supposed to have, and again, make it happen maybe in a dream instead of in reality. Make it a stubbed toe, make it a slip in a puddle rather than a car accident. Or maybe it's going to give it to you at a time in your life when you're much stronger and more able to handle it, when you're more settled, when your family is more settled, than at a time when that accident would throw everything into disarray. And so we actually do have power to even adjust things from the past. But the last piece of it is how we take it. Because as I began, there's nothing good and there's nothing bad. The universe does not have any judgment that says wealth is good, poverty is bad, health is good, sickness is bad, success is good, failure is bad. You know, we may say, oh, sunny day, great weather. Cloudy day, bad weather. Or cold weather, I don't like it. Warm weather, I love it. Or maybe vice versa. But the universe doesn't have any judgments. The universe doesn't love a rainy day more than a dry day, or a tree with leaves on it any more than a tree whose leaves have dropped to the ground. The universe doesn't love a field that's full of wheat any more than a field that is fallow. The universe doesn't have those judgments. And so when we get something as our karmic fruit, and it feels bad to us, it feels bitter, but we can't rewind life, we can't undo it. We can't now go back and do a bunch of sadhana to have mitigated it. It's already here. It's with us. It's in our lap. It has happened. The question then becomes, well, then what? And then it has to do with changing your perspective. Rather than thinking about it as bad, how can I take the lesson that I'm supposed to learn here? How can I realize that I'm not being punished by the universe? That the universe is not against me in any way? That I haven't been selected against? But rather that I've gotten not only that which is the result of my past karma, but that ultimately the entire agenda of the universe, what the universe wants from us, the agenda behind this whole karmic cycle, is actually that we should wake up. The universe has no agenda that at the end of the day, you are finally going to become the CEO of the company, and you're finally going to get all the money you want, and finally have the house you want, and finally have the spouse you want, and your children will finally do what you tell them to do, and everybody's going to bow at your feet. The universe has no agenda like that. That's not the highest goal of a successful life to the universe. The universe's goal is you should wake up. You should wake up to the truth of who you are, which is divinity, which is consciousness, which is soul, which is spirit, which is love, which is oneness. which is why being in love, being connected, being good feels so much better than fighting and separateness. Not only does it get us better karmic fruits, but it actually feels so much better when we're doing it. Telling the truth feels better than lying. Being in love feels better than being in anger. Being connected feels better than being separate. Helping someone feels better than hurting someone. Why? Because love and truth and goodness and expansion and connection, well, that's the truth of who we are. That is the soul, the spirit, the divinity in us. So when we live like that, it actually feels right. So when we get in touch with that, when we wake up to who we are, and we ask ourselves, okay, here's what I've got. How do I see this? As something that is here for my awakening. Something that is here because I'm supposed to learn from it. And what am I supposed to learn from it? What's my lesson here? How am I supposed to walk through this step? Okay, there's a mud puddle in your path. Right there. Well, the question then becomes, how am I supposed to walk through it? Not, oh my God, this universe, it rained, didn't it know I was walking? It's not fair. Those guys are walking on a road with no mud puddle. Issue is, I've got a mud puddle and I've got to get over there. My question at that moment becomes one thing and one thing only, which is, how do I walk through it? What's the clearest way through it? And so whatever situation we are in, that's what to ask ourselves. And of course, if you find that every season, even in the dry season, whatever path you take, you find that there's nothing but mud puddles, then you say to yourself, well, all right, why is it in my life that I seem to keep planting seeds of mud puddles? What am I doing that the universe keeps sending me mud puddles? What lesson do I need to learn on a deeper level than just walking through it, that the universe keeps sending me these things until I learn it? What's going on with my life? And so that's how we deal with what we would call colloquially bad karma. But actually is just that which we're given to learn from, to grow from, to use as a way to wake up. How can this mud puddle be conducive to my awakening? Or if the puddle isn't, well, how can my wet feet be conducive to my awakening then? How can what I'm going through be conducive to my awakening, to my next step, to my opening? Because that is the universe's agenda. It's all the universe wants of us. So before I take any of the other questions that have come in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that anyone here might have.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm quite awakened to the fact that whatever bitter fruits I'm getting, it's the result of the past karmas that I have done.
Yeah.
Now, does it mean that for the rest of the life I should continue to sort of bear with them, suffer because of them, or is there any way to come out or to have some kind of how do I cope up with that?
Great. So there's three types of karma. And I won't go into all of it in too much. I won't get into too much of the theory and the philosophy of it, but it's important to at least know. We've got short-term karma, which is immediate action, reaction. I punch someone, they punch me back. Immediate results. I'm hungry, I eat food, I'm no longer hungry. Or I'm hungry, I eat food, now I have diarrhea. One way it ends up nicely, the other way it doesn't end up so nicely, but either way, immediate karma. We have karma that's more long-term, that bears fruits more long-term. Then we have even longer term. Pujya Swamiji refers to it as short-term FDRs and long-term FDRs. In America, we say CDs. In India, they say FDRs. So you put your money in a bank account. Some of it matures in 6 months. Some of it you have to leave there for 10 years to get your returns. But with karma, it's not only 10 years, some of it's next life. So some of what you are getting today is due to long-term karma. Long ago, you did something, something happened, due to which this is now in your lap. But some of it is due to the most immediate past. We have control over both of them. So number one, for the long-term stuff, the stuff that the seeds have already been planted, for that, what we can do to mitigate it is to lessen it a little, is our spiritual practice. Our prayers, our surrender to God, our seva, and praying for the grace of God, the grace of the Guru, because that is something that can help. There are pujas that people do, specific rituals that people do, certain anushtans that people do, that help ease certain karmic fruit that we are going through. But remember also that what you're getting is not only a result of your longest term FDRs, you're also getting the results of your short-term FDRs. And so those should be working. So for example, let's say in your garden, you have an apple tree. Because many years ago, you planted an apple seed, or you allowed someone to plant an apple seed in your garden. Now, for you, that's bitter fruit because you are allergic to apples. And so you think, my God, this isn't fair. Everybody else has fruit trees that they can eat. I've got this fruit tree. It gives me hives. I'm itchy. I'm swollen. This is not fair. But what did you plant yesterday? What did you plant last month? If all you have in your garden today is an apple tree, what it means is not only did you plant an apple seed a long time ago, but it means that you have been negligent about your garden for all of these years because you know you're allergic to apples. So why have you not started planting peach trees? Why have you not started planting orange trees? Cello, the apple tree is there. Can't do anything about it. But you can plant peach trees next to it. You can plant orange trees next to it. You can plant things that you can plant tomatoes, you can plant corn, you can plant things that grow even faster than trees. Plant zucchinis. Plant all sorts of things that are going to grow, that will bear fruit in one season. Okay, maybe for your orange tree, you're going to need 5 years, but you can get zucchinis like in a month. So if you still find yourself with nothing to eat because all you've got is this tree giving bitter fruit, you have to ask yourself, what about all my short-term karma? Okay, the long-term one is there. That's the apple tree. But why have I not planted seeds of things that are good for me to eat? And don't feel badly. Today even, you can start. Okay, there's still this apple tree. So get some orange seeds. Plant some long-term seeds of things that you'll get in a few years. And in the meantime, plant zucchinis, plant tomatoes, Those will bear fruit right away. Plant potatoes. You can have so much to eat that right away. Whatever you like, whatever the sweet fruit for you is, plant those seeds. And with regard to your apple tree, okay, so you're still allergic to apples. Can't do anything about it. Well, is there a school nearby? Can you invite the school children over to pick apples after school? Can you fill baskets of apples and take them to homeless shelters? So much can be done with that which feels bitter to us. But we get stuck in our minds and we feel like this is all I have. I'm stuck here. And it prevents us, A, from any benefit of what we've been given. Because even if you can never eat the apples, if you let the children come, वो तो उससे फिर मजा आएगा आपको. चलो सेब की मजा तो कभी नहीं ले सकते, but कम से कम बच्चों को खिलाने की मजा तो ले सकते. But if we're stuck, we don't even have that joy. And when we're stuck, it prevents us from having the clarity of mind to say, well, all right, today I've got apples, but what do I want tomorrow? What seeds can I plant today? So no, you are not stuck by any means that you will always have this bitter fruit. Some of your past, long ago karma, kuch to rahega naturally. But at least fill the rest of your garden with sweet fruits that you have the power to plant today. Good. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. Last question tonight.
So, when you plant seeds and you're expecting them to bear sweet fruits,
Yes.
that is not what in the Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate karma. And how do you get to that state of being able to have nishkam karma?
Great, great. Okay, so she's taken this discussion a few steps deeper. Her question is, we've been talking about planting seeds for fruit. I want to eat sweet fruit, meaning I want karmic fruit that feels good. So I'm going to do good karma. I'm going to plant sweet fruit trees, seeds. But she said in the Bhagavad Gita, actually what we're taught is to do this karma selflessly, without any agenda at all. Ki mere ko ye milega. Aaj ne kal, I'm going to have sweet fruit in my garden. That actually we're taught just plant the seeds. Garden them. Not only plant them, but garden them. Shine the sun on them. Water them. And have no attachment. Is it going to be sweet? Is it going to be bitter? So this is where there's a couple of aspects of this. First of all, it's not plant any seed. So even though Lord Krishna says, don't be attached to the fruits, he also tells us, do your duty. And we have to do that duty in such a way that I know what I'm planting. So for example, when Arjuna asks him, how do I know who is a yogi? How do I know who is a wise man? And Lord Krishna gives him all of these beautiful characteristic descriptions of actually how we should live, how we should be. So we know this is the way to live. Not because I'm going to get sweet fruits, but because we know this is how to live. So it's not koi bhi seed plant karo, and then just leave it to God to, with your grace, give me the right thing. But it's do your duty, Do it to the absolute best of your ability. And he even gives us basically a formula for knowing that duty. Not the necessarily individual duty. Not everybody is a warrior and has to fight that battle like Arjun. But to do it as this instrument of God. To realize whatever God tells you. Now, of course, Arjun had it easy. He literally had Lord Krishna driving his chariot. So he knew in that way where to go. Well, you've got God driving the chariot. You don't have to look at a map. You don't have to turn on your GPS. You don't have to do anything. You just sit back and let God drive it. But Lord Krishna has given us the keys for all of us. Let God drive your chariot, meaning remember that you're not the doer. Do your duty, surrendered to God. Do it from a place of not being attached to success or failure, being balanced in all of this. Do it in a way of offering. Do it for others. Do it for a greater good. Do it as a tool in God's hands. And then don't have any attachment to what fruit is going to come. Leave the rest in God's hands. And as she said, how do we do that? Well, it's one of those teachings that is very simple, but not so easy. Simple and easy are not synonymous. How do we do that? Well, practice. To remind ourselves every time we do something and we think, acha, what's in it for me? To remind ourselves, oh wait. And here's a trick. It's a lot easier to start with small things. Don't try to begin with something very big in your life. Don't try to begin with like your whole career. Begin with something small. Begin with little actions. What can you do as service for others, but without thinking about what you're going to get in return? What can you do that is your duty without thinking about what you're going to get in return? Begin small. And then slowly, and every time you find yourself either wondering what you're going to get, anticipating what you're going to get, or feeling frustrated that you don't get it. So you do something nice for someone. We expect that they're going to do something nice for us. Or we certainly at least expect that they're going to thank us in exchange or be nice to us in exchange. But we're not even supposed to expect that. So catch yourself. When you're doing something for someone else, catch yourself with that expectation that in exchange, they're going to be grateful. They're going to love me or like me. They'll do something for me. Start with those little things and then go bigger and bigger. And then ultimately, it becomes literally about every minute and every moment of my life. Where the doing of it is its own reward. And that's ultimately where we get to, is I begin by thinking I'm going to get a reward. This is where I do good karma because I want good karmic fruits. I then go deeper on my path and I say, well, okay, I'm not going to worry about the results. I'm going to do good things. I'm going to do my duty. But I'm not going to worry about what I'm going to get. I'm going to leave that up to God. And in doing that, in that practice of doing without having any expectation or any attachment to what comes, eventually what ends up happening is that the doing becomes its own reward. That the actual act of that selfless service becomes its own reward. And that's where some of you may have heard me say before, that when we do seva, on the most superficial level, we're serving others. But ultimately, we're serving ourselves. Because if I'm doing it right, I'm actually the one benefiting from it. It's not about how I'm benefiting others. It's actually about how I'm benefiting myself. Because that doing of the selfless service, if done correctly, without the expectation, without the attachment, literally becomes its own reward in the act of giving, in the act of being a tool of the divine, a vessel for the divine will to flow. We're the ones who benefit. We literally experience the self through that seva. Begins with the ego. I'm the one doing this. Should be done the way I want it. I'm the one, I'm the one, I'm the one. Highest, or upward, like the not the highest on a good way, but the highest on a superficial level way. Begin there, but then we move deeper. It's not me. It's actually just me as a tool. Okay, so I'm a tool in God's hands, tool in God's hands. Go deeper and deeper and deeper, and what you feel literally is that divine flow flowing through you in whatever you're doing, and that's why the service, whether it's your duty that you're fulfilling in your family, the duty that you're fulfilling in the world, the duty that you're fulfilling, whatever aspect of duty it is, it's not that it has to be done as a sannyasi in an ashram always. It's just that tends to be the easiest and most powerful way. Not easy because it comes easiest, but easiest in terms of when you are literally in a place in which you are serving others, when you are literally in a place in which it's not about what for me, but it's about what through me. And that energy is there. But it can be done anywhere. It's all about how can I be used as that tool in God's hands? And then what fruits come? You stop even thinking about that because the doing of it becomes its own reward. And what you experience, the bitter fruits that you experience, are actually when the ego comes in. The bitter fruits are no longer things that come from the outside. It no longer has to do with what flowered, what came from what tree, what result, what praise. It's no longer from the outside. The bitter fruit actually becomes the ego itself. And that's when you realize, I was doing that from ego. Because when internally we experience pain or frustration, we realize, it means I planted those seeds in ego. I didn't actually plant them selflessly. I didn't actually plant them with full surrender. Therefore, I am having that bitter fruit of pain, of frustration. And when the sweet fruits come, that sweet fruit becomes of the experience of oneness with God. And you realize, I planted that in total surrender. I planted that in total humility. I planted that in total oneness. So it actually ends up being a completely internal process. And that's on the deepest level. So thank you for that, for taking us a few steps deeper. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening, everyone. And if you have questions that